Let's dive right into something a lot of us know well. That pre-workout coffee. Or maybe an energy drink.
That caffeine boost, yeah.
It's just fundamental for so many people's routines, isn't it? We grab it thinking it gives us that extra edge.
Helps push through a tough workout.
Exactly, or maybe even takes the edge off the pain when you're really going for it. Caffeine's widely accepted as an ergogenic aid.
Meaning it's supposed to boost performance.
Right. And many believe it helps with pain too. But here's the big question we're tackling today. What happens when you push yourself to the absolute limit?
Like really intense exercise.
Yeah, into that kind of serious exercise-induced muscle pain you get with, say, sprint interval training. Does caffeine still work its magic then?
That's the key.
Today, we're taking a close look at some pretty fresh research that maybe challenges some of those assumptions.
Okay.
We're going to unpack whether caffeine really helps both performance and pain during that super intense sprint interval exercise.
Sounds good. Where's this research from?
So, this deep dive is based on a study titled Caffeine Exerts Neither Ergogenic nor Hypoalgesic Effects on Sprint Interval Exercise with Intensive Exercise-Induced Muscle Pain.
Quite a specific title.
It is. Published in the Journal of Sports Science and Medicine, March 1st, 2025. And for anyone wanting to look it up, the DOI is https://doi.org 10.52082 JSSM.2025 Bok 1.
And the authors.
Teppei Matsumura, Yuya Sakai, Kazushi Fukuzawa, Chihiro Kojima, and Takeshi Hashimoto. They're primarily from Ritsumeikan University in Japan.
Okay.
So for you listening, if you want to get right to the heart of the latest sports science without wading through all the jargon, that's what we're here for.
We'll break down the key findings.
And talk about what they actually mean.
Let's do it.
Okay, so let's set the scene a bit. Sprint interval training, SIT, it's hugely popular now.
Definitely. Not just for elite athletes either.
Right, lots of people use it for general fitness. It's
Yeah.
known for being efficient, great for aerobic and anaerobic performance.
And you get those musculoskeletal and cardiovascular adaptations too. It's powerful stuff.
But there's always a but, isn't there? That kind of intensity, it has a downside.
Precisely. While it's super effective, SIT is, well, notorious for causing what's called exercise-induced pain, or EIP.
Okay, EIP, how's that different from regular muscle soreness?
Good question. This isn't your typical DOMS, delayed onset muscle soreness that hits you a day or two later.
The walking downstairs pain.
Exactly. EIP is the acute pain. It happens during the exercise and can stick around for several minutes after you stop. It's that immediate ouch.
Right.
And what's really interesting here and relevant is that during those all-out sprints, this EIP can get incredibly intense.
How intense are we talking?
The study mentions it can approach worst pain ever on a pain scale. So really significant.
Wow. Okay, that's more than just discomfort.
Absolutely. It's a major factor.
But why is this intensive EIP such a big deal beyond just hurting? I mean, isn't pain sometimes just part of pushing limits?
Well, yes, some discomfort signals adaptation, but this level of EIP,
Yeah.
it has real negative consequences.
Good point.
It's been shown to actually impair muscle activation and strength. So it directly hurts your performance while you're trying to perform.
I see. So the pain itself limits output.
Exactly. And beyond that, severe pain is a huge barrier to sticking with training.
Yeah.
If it hurts that much, people are just less likely to keep doing it.
Makes sense. Consistency is key.
Right. So finding ways to reduce this pain, using what we call hypoalgesic strategies, is really important for maintaining training quality and, helping people actually stick with effective training programs.
Okay, so reducing that intense pain is critical. And that brings us back to caffeine.
The go-to solution for many.
It often comes up first when you talk performance enhancement and pain reduction. Lots of evidence supports it for various things.
No doubt. Past research has consistently shown caffeine acutely improves performance in lots of exercise types. Single sprints, multiple sprints.
Endurance stuff too, right?
Yes, and even resistance exercise. And maybe more relevant here, caffeine has also been shown to decrease EIP during endurance cycling and resistance training.
So it has a history of helping with both performance and pain in other areas.
Correct. It seems like a potential win-win.
And how is it supposed to work for pain? What's the mechanism?
The main theory involves a compound called adenosine. Think of it like a signaling molecule.
Okay.
When adenosine binds to certain receptors, it can contribute to the sensation of pain, particularly muscle pain.
Right.
Caffeine acts as an adenosine receptor antagonist. Basically, it blocks adenosine from binding to those receptors.
So it kind of interrupts the pain signal?
That's the idea. By blocking adenosine, it's thought to reduce the perception of muscle pain. Dampen the signal, you could say.
Okay, so if caffeine improves sprints and it reduces pain in other types of exercise by blocking adenosine, why this new study seems like it should work, right?
Well, that's where it gets tricky. It's not always so straightforward.
How so?
There was some earlier work, like a study by Pizzi and colleagues, that did suggest caffeine might reduce pain during SIT. But that was done when participants were glycogen depleted. When your muscle fuel stores are low like that, you naturally can't exercise as intensely.
So the intensity and likely the pain would have been lower anyway.
Exactly. It wasn't really testing caffeine's effect under conditions of maximal effort and intensive EIP.
Right.
Plus, we know higher intensity usually means higher pain.
Right.
So there was this possibility. What if caffeine does boost sprint performance, making the intensity even higher? Could that increased intensity actually cancel out any pain-reducing effect caffeine might have?
Interesting trade-off. Higher performance equals higher pain, potentially negating the caffeine benefit.
Potentially. That was the lingering question. Could caffeine give you both benefits, better performance and less pain, when you're going truly all out in SIT with that really high EIP?
So that was the specific goal here.
Precisely. The researchers hypothesized that caffeine would do both, improve sprint performance and reduce that intensive EIP. They wanted to test that dual effect under the toughest conditions.
All right, this is where it gets really interesting then. How did they actually test this? Must have been a rigorous setup.
Oh, absolutely. They used a double-blind, randomized crossover design.
The gold standard, right, reduces bias.
Exactly. Neither the participants nor the researchers knew who got caffeine and who got the placebo until after the analysis.
Smart. And who were the participants?
They recruited 16 well-trained male collegiate athletes. Importantly, they were long sprinters who regularly experienced EIP in their training and races.
So a population that knows this kind of pain well.
Yes, very relevant. They knew what intensive EIP felt like.
And the caffeine dose.
Participants took either 6 milligrams of caffeine per kilogram of body weight or placebo, which was maltitol, in identical capsules.
In timing.
They took it 60 minutes before the exercise. That dosage and timing are pretty standard for seeing ergogenic effects from caffeine.
Okay, giving caffeine its best shot.
Pretty much.
So what was the workout itself? How did they induce this worst pain ever situation?
It was tough. The protocol involved 3 sets of 30-second all-out Wingate pedaling tests.
Wingate tests are brutal, maximal effort.
Absolutely. And they only had a 2-minute rest period between these all-out sets. Very demanding.
Not much of recovery time?
Nope. Plus, they got strong verbal encouragement during all the sprints to really maximize their effort. The goal was to push them to their absolute physiological and psychological limits.
And that guarantees significant stress and, crucially, that intensive EIP.
That was the design.
What did they measure specifically?
Key things were quadriceps EIP using a 100-millimeter visual analog scale VAS. 0 meant no pain. 100 was the worst pain ever.
So subjective pain rating.
Yes, but standardized. They also measured objective performance, peak power and mean power output during the sprints.
Okay, performance metrics.
And they looked at physiological markers like blood lactate and ammonia concentrations, monitored for side effects too, headaches, anxiety, the usual caffeine stuff.
And did they check if the blinding worked? Could participants guess what they took?
They did check that, and yes, the blinding was effective. Participants generally couldn't tell if they'd had caffeine or the placebo.
Good. That rules out psychological effects influencing the results.
Right. It makes the findings much more robust.
Okay, so a really solid methodology. They put caffeine to a very tough test. What happened? Did it live up to the hype in this extreme context?
Well, this is where it gets quite surprising. The results showed caffeine did not significantly affect sprint performance.
Really? No difference in power output?
Nope. No significant differences in peak power. The p-value was 0.196, or mean power, where the p-value was 0.157.
Well above the usual cutoff for significance.
Way above. So no statistical evidence of a performance boost here.
Okay, wow. And what about the main point, the pain? Did it at least help with that worst pain ever?
That was perhaps even more definitive. Caffeine also did not alleviate the intensive exercise-induced pain.
Not at all.
No significant effects on their quadriceps EIP ratings, either during the exercise bouts or immediately after. The p-values were 0.686 and 0.112 respectively. Again, nowhere near significance.
So the pain was just as bad with caffeine as with the placebo?
Pretty much identical, statistically speaking.
Any differences in lactate, ammonia, or side effects?
Also, no. No significant differences found there either between the caffeine and placebo conditions.
So the conclusion was pretty clear-cut then.
Very clear and direct. Caffeine had neither ergogenic, meaning performance-enhancing, nor hypoalgesic, meaning pain-reducing, effects during this type of sprint interval exercise with intensive EIP. The hypothesis was just not supported.
That is a strong finding, especially given how much people rely on caffeine. How do we square this with the older research that did show benefits?
That's the crucial point, isn't it? It really suggests that caffeine's benefits might be highly dependent on the context.
Meaning,
Well, those previous studies showing pain reduction often use different types of exercise, like endurance cycling or resistance training.
Yeah.
Or, like that Kizzy study, they use sprint exercise, but under conditions like glycogen depletion, which lower the intensity.
so the pain might have been less severe in those cases.
Exactly. The EIP might have been milder. This study specifically zeroed in on intensive EIP resulting from high performance, all-out sprinting.
A different beast altogether.
It seems so.
Yeah.
The researchers themselves suggest that maybe caffeine is only effective at reducing relatively mild EIP.
Huh.
When the exercise intensity is cranked up to max, producing maximal power and that really high level of pain, caffeine's potential pain-blocking effect might just get overwhelmed.
Like trying to whisper over a shouting crowd.
That's a decent analogy. The pain signal might just be too strong. Or maybe the mechanisms driving that intense pain aren't the ones caffeine primarily acts on via adenosine receptors.
Okay, that makes sense. The intensity of the pain itself changes the game.
It seems likely.
What about the lack of a performance boost? I thought caffeine was pretty reliable for sprints.
Well, it's more nuanced than we often think. Meta-analyses do show caffeine helps a single 30-second Wingate sprint.
Okay.
But its effect on repeated sprints, especially with short rest times like the 2 minutes here, is actually much more mixed in the literature.
Ah, so the repetition and short rest are key factors.
They seem to be. Some studies show no effect or even a decrease in performance with repeated sprints after caffeine.
Oh.
The authors here suggest that maybe peripheral fatigue factors just build up too quickly.
Like what?
Things accumulating in the muscle's protons, making it acidic, changes in ATP, buildup of lactate. These things directly impair muscle function and also contribute to pain.
Okay.
With only 2 minutes rest, these factors might become so dominant that they limit performance regardless of caffeine's potential central nervous system boost.
So the local muscle fatigue overrides any potential benefit from the caffeine.
That could be it. They mention maybe needing a longer rest period, perhaps a 1:12 work-to-rest ratio instead of the 1:4 used here, for any caffeine effect on performance to show up in repeated sprints. The muscles just need more time to recover between efforts.
That's interesting. So the workout structure itself is critical. Now, one potential critique, what about habitual caffeine use? These athletes consumed around 226 milligrams daily. Could they just be tolerant to the dose?
That's a fair question, and the researchers did address it.
What did they say?
They pointed to a recent meta-analysis and other studies which found that habitual caffeine intake generally does not cancel out the ergogenic effects of an acute caffeine dose, like the 6 milligrams or pitogram used here.
So tolerance probably wasn't the reason for the lack of effect.
It seems unlikely based on current evidence. The findings appear robust. The main takeaway really is that for this specific type of exercise, high performance, repeated sprints with short rest and intensive pain, the expected benefits of caffeine just didn't show up.
So there you have it. For those really tough all-out sprint sessions where the pain is hitting peak levels, this research strongly suggests your pre-workout caffeine hit might not be doing what you think it is.
Yeah, neither boosting performance nor easing that intense burn.
It really paints a more nuanced picture of caffeine, doesn't it? Its benefits aren't universal. Context, especially the intensity of effort and pain, seems absolutely critical.
Definitely. It's not a magic bullet for every situation.
So the ultimate takeaway for you listening, if you're doing these kinds of maximal repeated sprints with short rests, maybe don't rely solely on caffeine to get you through or make it hurt less.
Its power seems to fade when faced with that truly intensive EIP and rapid fatigue accumulation.
Which leads to the next question. If caffeine isn't the answer here, what is? This really pushes us to look at other strategies, right?
Absolutely. Maybe focusing more on things like active recovery between sprints, specific mobility work, or perhaps even psychological strategies like pain tolerance training or mindfulness techniques.
Instead of just reaching for another coffee, it certainly encourages a broader look at managing intense training demands.
For sure.
We've really only scratched the surface here. If you want all the details, the rigorous methodology, the full data analysis,
You should definitely check out the full paper.
absolutely. It's Caffeine Exerts Neither Ergogenic Nor Hypoalgesic Effects on Sprint Interval Exercise with Intensive Exercise-Induced Muscle Pain by Matsumura and colleagues in the Journal of Sports Science and Medicine.
Well worth a read if this area interests you.
And if you found this deep dive insightful, please make sure to follow our channel.
And turn on those notifications so you don't miss our next exploration into cutting-edge research.
Until next time, stay curious.